Okay, so let's get the data. So by the time we get the data, the next thing we want to do is to bring it into Power BI. Now, the data set we're using is the boot data. Now, we transform the data so we can further clean it. As you can see, this is the data set. And on each column, you can see we have the price, we have all of these column titles, we have different columns showing different data information. Now, what this implies is that we can see there are a lot of vacant spaces, like so a lot of blank spaces in between the data set on each column. So that means we have a lot of work. There are some letters that are unusual, even in this particular column, as you can see. So here we have order, as you can see in this column precisely. So you see a lot of missing information. Now look at this particular column. You see that, look at this particular column, you see that we have the CHR and we also have the value being merged together. There is the need to split this particular information so we can have the amount and then we can have the currency. So we use this split function to do that. We split by delimiter. Upon doing that, let's see what we can do. So where do we split from? We use the first one, that is the leftmost. When we click OK, let's see what will happen. The left hand side will be separated from the right hand, as you can see. Look at it. So you can see that the currency has been separated from the actual amount in this particular column. So now we have two different columns showing two different. Now, but there is a clause. We need to convert this particular information to the right data type. So always have it at the back of your mind that you need to always convert the data type, because it is very, very important. Else it's going to affect your overall DAX behavior. So now there is the need to do that. So that is what we're presently doing, converting each of the data type to ensure that data integrity is being maintained. So we're going to do that so we can be sure that we have a clean data. Moving forward, that is what you see happening here. We're checking to ensure that every information we have, they're in the right data form as expected. If we have numbers, they'll be whole number or integers. If we have text, they will be in the text format. So we must ensure that we do that. This is length you should know. Even width, you know that it is actually a measurable unit. So numerical value must be strictly adhered to when you are taking the actual measurement, checking your measurement. So as you can see here, and that is what you're seeing here right now, ensuring that all the data are being converted to the right format, which they must be. Now, if you take a look at this particular column, you see something different in this column, but we'll come back to it. Let us change the data type first. Let us ensure that it is in the text format because it is a string. Now, pay close attention to this again. Now, look at the next thing. I'm trying to check the quality of the data that we have on each particular column to see that everything is intact. Look at it now. Now, I need you to pay close attention to this particular quality of data that we have for each column. You see a particular green line. As you can see this green line, any space that you see is telling us that there is something wrong. If you see a gray patches or a gray section, it shows that data, there is something missing. Probably there are missing values or errors. But when you see red patches, it means there is an error in that particular column or in that particular section. So just pay close attention to the green line, and the patches that you have in some areas is actually telling us something. But this is very straightforward. This quality test that you see here telling us every information that we need to know about each of the column. Whenever you see errors, that is telling us there is a particular error happening there. So that is that about that area. So please pay close attention to that. Very important. Look at this particular column. What you see is that there are some things that we need to correct. But let's look at that. How do we do that? We need to ensure that we replace some values. And how do we do that? We replace some values, those anomaly, we replace them. We can do that in different format. But let's check something first. Let's use this particular code to split the column using this particular position that we have, let's see what will happen. This is going to split it from 0, 3, then 6, as you can see this. So it's splitting according to the position that was indicated in that section that we just observe now. So pay close attention to the fact that we can always split a particular column in different dimensions or different ways. So we can use by position, we can use by delimiter, so different format that can be used to split a particular column. So let's erase this and go back. I just try to go back to the steps so that I can show you something. Now watch this again now. So we're trying to split the column by what? So look at that. So when we use this, you can see what just happened. Look at it. This is what you will get whenever we use that kind of command. So different split command, we do different thing according to the instruction encoded. So moving forward again, we want to do this again. Let's see another thing that will happen. Now we want to see if we use this particular split command, what will then happen. Look at this. You see what we have? You see that this is giving an error. Why is it giving an error? Because it does not understand that language, because it does not align. So let's see what would then happen. Let's now use the right one. Let's see what would then happen. So we use this one. So if we use this particular one, let's see what would then happen. Okay, we cannot use that one. So let's try and use this first section. But before we can do that, we need to restore the previous step. So let us cancel the step and go back to the original format it was. So let's see. So using this particular column now, so we split column by what? By this. I hope you can see this. So if we split it by this, let's see what we're going to get. The reason we have to do this is because our intention is to separate the currency from the amount. We've done that using another format before, but this time around we need to use another method. So you can see what will happen now is we're going to have, I'm trying to restore this previous step. Let's go back to this and see this now. So when we split the column, look at this, we're using this particular one. So look at what happened. You can see it has been splitted. Now it is highly essential, like I said earlier, for you to convert this data to the right format. I mean this one that is in the second column, which is actually the amount. So it is very important that we do the conversion like the right data type. So if it is an integer, we need to restore it. If it's a whole number, we need to indicate it. It's very, very important that we always do that during data cleaning. Very, very important that we do that. So we take note of that area as we progress. We can also, this is already in the string format. So we and always pay close attention. Integers, string always have their position. You can see that most strings are usually on the left hand side, while the integers are always on the right hand side. So always take note of that. Very, very important. So we don't mix things up. Now, moving forward, let's rename this one as currency. Let's call this one the amount so we can proceed. Now, as we can see, we need to also address some things. As we can see, there are some string cleaning. Now look at these blank spaces. How do we remove them? Now, it will be wrong. Now, you highlight this column. There are several ways you can do it. But don't be deceived. You must not be deceived by just removing blanks or removing, because if we do that, we're going to get a lot of errors. Now, I will prove that. Now, look at this ribbon. There is a section you can see. You can remove errors. You can remove empty rows. You can remove a lot of things like that. But there is an easy way which you see here. You can just click on the column now, then you remove it directly, and then you'll be excited that, oh, okay, I've actually removed all the blanks that we have. Now, let me just practicalize one. I'm going to practicalize something like that so you can see. Look at it. But do you notice that this thing is showing the steps that I have actually removed the blanks, but yet the blanks are still showing here? The reason is because when you say blanks or empty space, it could be that mistakenly somebody, when typing, mistakenly pressed the shift key twice, and the Power BI is not seeing this as an empty box, or is an empty cell. Do you understand that now? So we need to be sure that this is not actually the best way. So one of the best approaches, there are several ways to undo this. Let us check this one. Now we can come to this section and then uncheck the blank space, which means we don't want to see blanks in our data. So if we click OK, look at what happened. All the blank has been removed. Do you see that now? So let's undo that step and then use alternative approach. We can equally come here, remove this empty. It's going to perform the same function. So you can see that there are several ways to do that. It is not just one way of doing it. So please pay close attention to that particular area also. It's one of the strategies you can use to remove blanks. Now look at this particular column. You can see there are a lot of letters that are not supposed to be there. So we need to also clean that, knowing the right thing to do. As you can see, look at how do we do. We have to press the replace values because we are trying to replace something here. So now you copied one of the line and you paste it. What are you trying to replace? You clean every other thing. Now leaving what you intend to replace. With what are you trying to replace it with? We're trying to replace it with this particular letter, which is empty. So with that, or if it is comma, that is what you're going to get. So whatever instruction you give is what you're going to get when you are replacing values. Maybe you're replacing a particular anomaly, a particular letter, you're going to get. The same thing is applicable here. You replace it, maybe a comma, whatever it is you want to do. That is the best practice. You go to replace values, you copy the line, remove every other letters, leaving the ones you want to replace. Then what do you want to replace it with? Is it a blank space? Is it a particular letter? Now it's going to do it. Anywhere it sees that thing, it's going to replace it with that U, that letter, all true. That is what you're going to get. But please pay close attention to the data count. Like, always make sure that you see the row count so you can know how many, if this thing is actually having effect or not in what you're doing. Same thing is applicable here. So as you can see, we also proceeded by doing this so we can also replace every other letter that are like anomaly, like they are not consistent with what is expected in that data set. So we need to replace it. This is part of data cleaning process, as you can see, though we still have some which will be handled subsequently, but I'm just trying to show you this is how you do it. This is how you do data cleaning. This is the way to do it professionally. This is how. Now I need to also state, for the purpose of clarity, that you should be careful when you're removing your blanks. Professionally, there is a percentage of blanks that you must remove so you don't tamper with the expected outcome. Otherwise, your whole insights will be wrong and you'll not be able to make adequate recommendation if your data analysis is actually wrong. So this is what you do. I just plated this column, as you can see. Look at what happened. So you can split a column by different method. I'm just trying to show you different ways by which you can split a column. Now you can see, how do you look at this one now? The next thing you want to do is you want to just split by this, split by this. Now whatever you want to do, as you can see left, this is what will happen. So it's going to extract everything on that left hand side. So we can actually give it a name. We can call this one a country and we can call this one a location, just like that. With that, we've been able to separate all the congestion that we have in a particular column. Then we move ahead into something else so we can better have. Now you can see we also want to practice replacing everything that we had. The idea we're trying to bring to table now is that we're trying to say this is the best way to do data cleaning in Power BI. Best practice is very, very important that you check before you do anything. it is very, very important that you pay close attention, that you don't just delete information from your database. Very, very important. You must make sure that you follow professional practices. Very, very important.